Professor Choi, Professor Law, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first of all, welcome to Hong Kong. This is a great place to visit this time of the year, notwithstanding the weather. But and it's a lovely time because we're just stepping into a new year, new Chinese New Year, and you can see all the festivities and the well wishes going around. And so may I take this opportunity to wish you all, first of all, a very happy, successful, healthy, prosperous year of the tiger. This is a great year to be in. Well, it's always a pleasure to come back to the Hong Kong U. I never had the privilege of studying here, but this is my father's alma mater. And I've learned so much from Professor Choi, Professor Law, Professor Grundy, and Professor Chang, whom you had, he and I would have a panel discussion on Saturday. This is in many ways where I learned about education. So it's always a privilege for me to come back here. As you know, the IT and education strategy or initiative has always been a priority for government. We're into our third IT and education strategy. And this is a movement that we started more than 10 years ago. Our first strategy equipped all our schools with hardware, with the necessary hardware, and eventually with broadband connection. Our second strategy helped our teachers come up to speed with using this technology, and we're into our third strategy, which talks about deploying technology, right place, right time. Last year, we, in response to the community's concern about the use of traditional textbooks, especially textbook prices, as I'm sure is a controversial issue anywhere in the world, we published a report on e-learning and also on traditional textbooks. In that report, which was eventually adopted by the Secretary of Education, we advocated that we need a very clear roadmap for our schools to deploy technology in everyday teaching. And we're not talking just about translating traditional teaching. We're not talking about automating teaching. We are really talking about transforming the way we teach. We want to move the center of gravity from the teacher to the student. We want teachers to teach less, students to learn more. We want this to be a transformative process. And this is something that we feel very strongly about. And in fact, earlier last month, we got $140 million in funding to push ahead with a few initiatives, including allowing our schools to try out new e-learning resources. We're going to launch 20 to 30 pilot projects where our schools would be able to experiment with deeper use of technology in education. We are going to build an e-depository of teaching and learning resources. And finally, we are going to improve our e-transaction platform in the education portal called Hong Kong Education City. These are the sort of the headline ideas, if you will. We are going to push ahead with that, and later this month we're going to announce detailed criteria for how we would go ahead with picking these pilot projects. But beyond these headlines, beyond what we have announced publicly, there's an enormous amount of work that we have to do, that we have to get the school sector to do, the publishers and the IT sectors to collaborate with us. And towards this end, I led a delegation of 40 people to go to London to attend a learning and technology forum in January. We also attended the annual BET trade show. As most of you know, there's the sort of the flagship event for education technologies. And we learned an enormous amount about the state-of-the-art of IT and education around the world. But more importantly, I feel, is that we as a group of 40 people, get to know each other much better than ever before. These include people from the IT, publishing, school, and higher education sectors. These would be our partners going forward to push ahead with e-learning. I remember after the trip, we organized a debriefing session, which Professor Law attended, and he told us about a paper. Now, when Professor Law assigns reading, I do read them. The same, I don't know whether the same can be said about her students, but I do take Professor Law's reading assignment very seriously. And she told me about this paper called Education Epidemic by David Hargreaves. And I reread it recently. I thought it's enormously insightful in how we would realize this transformation we're talking about. I think in the past 6 months, a year, we have managed to get the schools to think about beyond just automating teaching. I've noticed that people starting using terminology like transformation, like having to change the way they do things. But we don't quite know yet how to make this change sustainable. We don't quite know how transformation can take place. And the paper that Professor Law introduced us, point me certainly into a lot of very interesting directions. It talks about the role of government. The role of government creating an environment that's conducive to innovation. It talks about how government policy ought to be enabling intervention, not directive intervention. I thought that certainly resonates with our philosophy here. We want, above all, I think government's role should be encouraging the formation of innovative network. The paper uses a very interesting example, the formation of the internet, to illustrate the point. The internet is not invented by a particular individual. Yes, someone must have the idea to begin with, but the formation of the internet, the development of the World Wide Web really requires collaboration along many lines. It's innovation by many different people who do not even know each other. This collaborative, creative, collaborative effort is highly decentralized. There's no central authority to direct the changes. And in this day and age, when we talk about encouraging our students to collaborate and learn, I feel that it is incumbent upon ourselves also to try to collaborate and learn. And our role, hopefully, the role of the government, hopefully, would create an environment for industry, for schools, for educators to collaborate and learn and move this process forward. So to me, this conference is very timely. This is the time where we are thinking about how to start this change process, how we can sustain these changes. As Professor Cho was saying, this conference is really a wonderful platform for networking and for collaboration, for all of you to share what you have been doing. You can be our champion also. You can be our champion for change, champion for ICT. You can also help us establish what is good practice or what is best practices. It's very important that we have solid academic backing to what is really considered good. It's not just someone in one school trying out the supposed that looks effective. It is something that could be replicated. It could be something, it is a practice that could be disseminated throughout the network.